and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. It is Friday afternoon. We're going to look ahead to the St Mirren game at the weekend with the breaking news this afternoon. Is Alistair Johnston out for the rest of the season? I think he is. When it's a fracture on the side of your head, there's absolutely no chance of him recovering and getting any game time now between now and the end of the season. I think, unfortunately for Alistair Johnston. Make sure that you do hit the thumbs up on the video before we get into it. What a devastating day for Alistair Johnston. Brendan Rodgers said in an interview on Celtic TV that he was unsure about Alistair Johnston. He then alluded to tell us that it was a suspected fracture on the side of the head, and it's just a case of how long is he going to be out for. Now, at best, you could say it's going to be a couple of weeks, but at worst, it's the end of the season. It is the end of the season for Alistair Johnston, which then brings into, is Tony Ralston good enough to play in that position until the end of the season? Celtic are having an absolute nightmare when it comes to people out injured this season. People out injured this season, it's just been a complete nightmare, and I actually feel for Brendan Rodgers not being able to. I mean, I don't think there's been once. Hi from Louisiana. You think he'll miss the rest of the season? Yes, I think so. You can't take any. When it's a head knock like that and it's a fracture, you have to wait until the fracture is fully healed before he gets back on the pitch. It's not going to be like when Callum McGregor was running about with a face mask on. You got to remember, Callum was out for a while before he came back with that. It's devastating for the player. Absolutely devastating. And you've got to feel for Brendan Rodgers in a way, because there's not once since the season has started that he's been able to put out his strongest 11 players. Not once. And it could be the season, and people are saying, it could be the season that it's the worst ever Celtic team if we win the league. And Brendan Rodgers was asked about, is this a break from the league this weekend? And he cheekily replied, well, obviously, because it's the Scottish Cup, and it's a competition that we want to win. It's a competition that we want to get there, and we want to get to Hampden at the end of the season. For me, you've got to feel sorry for the man. Well, not feel sorry for him, but you've got to think, what could we have done if we had this season, if we had our best 11? There's not been once this season that Brendan Rodgers has gone, right, that's the best team that we have at Celtic, and that's the team that we're going to put out. Not once. And it's been a season. And will it be season defining? Will it be season defining, the fact that it's another long-term injury? Brendan Rodgers didn't want to give too much away. Obviously, he says, we're still waiting on scan results. It's Friday. He was at hospital right after the game. He would have went to a private hospital on the Thursday. And they would give a pretty good indication then. On what was actually wrong, and the fact that if it is fractures, and it's just going to be a case of how long is he out for. You can't take any risks when it comes to head knocks. And I mean, he was automatically, because he was out with the concussion, he was automatically he wouldn't be in for this game anyway. That is the rules of the game. But with Brendan Rodgers coming out with the worst, that he has that fracture, it's going to be a case of now, how long is he out for? Which is really, really sad news. Anyway, another sad news. It's one of those videos. Another sad news, Greg Taylor's still out, which means, woohoo, Bernaby's still in. Greg Taylor's out and Bernaby's still in. What a weekend it's going to be at St Mirren. Let's get to some of the comments. There are 88 people. We are on a bit earlier today, but I thought we would just go live with that breaking news this afternoon. I thought it'd be better just going live than recording a video and putting that up. We might still go live later on. We'll see how many people's kicking about. Kaz is in the house. Hail, hail, Baz. William Martin's in the house. Hail, hail. David is coming in from Louisiana. And the good old US of A. How are you doing in Louisiana? And what's happening? What's the latest with Trump and all that? And how's the weather? Kaz, you think you missed the rest of the season? Yes, I think. Ralston is more than capable, says S4ZILS. John Paul Murray says, your health is your wealth. And it is that. And it is that. And as retire early. And health was one of them. Ralston's good enough, says Martin. Worrying times, we don't have much cover. We don't. And do you know, and I said that about the game the other night. We didn't have a lot of cover. We only had Ohm to come in the midfield. And do you know, it's like, is this squad really that short of good players, or is it just injuries are going to? Is it going to be one of the seasons where we'll look back and it go, if it wasn't for the injuries, I mean, maybe it's all eyes, maybes and buts, and who cares? And I mean, who's in the B team at right back? I've no idea. Paul McEwen says, afternoon, hail. Dan C is in the house. Give me Alistair Johnston. We can all send Alistair Johnston. We hope that he recovers in good time. I hope he recovers for the Scottish Cup final. I think that'd be a fitting game for him to come back. Scottish Cup final, and hopefully, can that be done? And that he's out for 2 months minimum, if you ask me. I've had a look into it, and he's going to be out for at least a couple of months. Yes. Anyway, what's this? Learn Arabic. Why are you even still here? Jesus, you're getting banned, right? Oh, jeez. Time out. 30 minutes. Goodbye, Eliza. Oh, the things that you see. The weather is lovely. Trump is a bambo. The food is first class. I've spent 30 years looking for this job. That's brilliant. The Governor Emerald Isle is the Governor Emerald are in the house. Even this afternoon, it's only 4:30 back home. It's 5:30 here. Even you, Kevin. How are you this evening? The fractured skull. Aye, yes, it is a fractured skull, which is disappointing. Burnaby's a sausage, says Shoopy Van. It is a sausage. But in other news, Greg Taylor is also out. The manager, you've got to remember, the manager did say before the Hibs game that he wouldn't get to the Hibs game. He wouldn't be fit enough for the Hibs game. He might be fit enough for the trip to Paisley this weekend after suffering a calf strain. And it seems that he is not. So Bernabe will go back into the left back position. Brendan says he's very close, but I'm not sure he'll make this weekend. But he should be available for the following weekend. And then other players that obviously came back this week were Owen Yang. They're back in training with the first team squads after they were away to the Asia Cup as unused substitutes. So they've been sitting on the bench, but they've been training. And Brendan Rodgers says, yeah, they look nice and fit and everything. Anyway, Carter Vickers has been ruled out for another couple of weeks with the after his latest injury. Whoa. Carter Vickers will be another huge miss. It's going to be an interesting game. And like I said in this morning's video, I have no idea who the manager is going to pick. Serious injury, will be out for weeks. I think he's going to be out for months, Chilpill. I've spoke to a friend that's a nurse, and she said that it could be months. And anything to do with the head, it could be months. Weeks would be a good outcome. And then he's got to get brought back into training and then get his physical fitness up. He'll be told to complete rest until he gets this. So he's basically going to be sitting on his back end for 2 weeks. He's then got to get back up to speed for that. So that's the most positive outlook that you could hope for is a couple of weeks. Taylor's not going to be back for Sunday. I don't think. If I think right. Anyway, I think they merited the red card at Easter Road. It was very late and it was a very powerful head, 100% red card. It was correct. But it was a result was a penalty. Out for next season. Big Shuggy's not out for next season. Ira looks good for the business. Serious Buzz can't hear nada. You can't hear nada. Turn up your volume because I can hear it coming through the speakers on this. So if I can hear it on this, turn your volume up. Anyway, right, get some more Celtic news. Paulo Bernardo spoke to the media, and Paulo Bernardo says that we must replicate and recapture some form. He says he was asked about form, and he said, yeah, it's something that you need to work on in training. And at this point of the season, you would really think, do we really need to be working on form form is not something that we should be working on, I would have thought. If you think that it's form is the issue, Brendan Rodgers is doing something completely wrong on the training pitch. Chilwell says, depending on what the fracture is like, as long as it's an underlying layer surrounding the brain is intact, he'll be fine. Yeah, but any type of head fracture, you're going to be out for a good... Brendan says he was hopeful that Taylor would make something. Well, he's hopeful. Oh, well. Yeah, it must be your phone. Yep, it was that. Out for next season. He's not out for next season. Right, Paulo Bernardo was asked... he was asked about his thoughts on the game on Wednesday and the full-time celebrations, which were probably a bit over-exuberant considering... Well, was it? Because it was a must-win game. And no matter how we win it, Paulo Bernardo says, we needed that win. We needed to win that game. A goal in the last minute is always good. He says we showed much passion to win the game. Sometimes you have to do it that way. We were very happy that we won the game, says Paulo Bernardo. Did it feel different? Did we need the confidence? Yes, Paulo Bernardo says we need the confidence, and it brings a little bit more of that to the team. We knew what we needed to win, and it was great to win, said Paulo Bernardo. If Celtic go on to be champions at the end of the season, do you feel you'll have you need to step up levels? Brendan Rodgers was asked this as well. He was asked about how many levels does this team have to go up, which I thought was an interesting question. Which it seems to be that people think that we're not playing at 100%. Now that would then suggest that the players aren't as good as what maybe some of the backroom staff think. And asking now, is it? And I think it was an indirect dig at the players. Do these players have another level to go up and play the game to the way that you want to play it? He would have been as well asking Brendan. Can you bring an emergency loan sign in, or is the balloon burst? The balloon is well and truly burst. Idiot caller on Clyde One last night said he watched the incident numerous times. In conclusion, Johnson fuck, Jesus God. I'm not going to even read the rest of it. Let's get back to Paulo Bernardo. What's the manager's message? Paulo was asked over the last week or so. Celtic have got 4 what was that he was asked? Do we need to improve? Yes, that was get back to it, Baz. Do Celtic need to improve? Do the team need to improve? And where do the team need to improve? And Paulo Bernardo batted it back and he said, that's a question for the coaches. That's a question for the coaches, and they will teach us how to make us better. We had a great time before the break. Well, Paulo, we lost 2 games in December, which is something that we've never done before. If we didn't lose those 2 games, we'd have been sitting a good few points still ahead. And I don't think... this is what I mean about bringing in players that don't know what it means to be at Celtic and the demands to win every single game. And I think putting Paulo out to getting questions like that is kind of hanging him out to dry a bit. And I don't know, it's a difficult one. He went on to say, he says, it comes with confidence in playing more games. I think we will play better each game, and we just need to... But it's the middle of the season, man. It's the middle of the season. Coming out and saying we're going to get better as each game. You know, there's only 13 games left in the league. We can't be... This is at the point of the season where we should not be improving. We should be hitting a high level of consistency, and that's what we're not doing. He was also asked about the fact that Callum McGregor, Cameron Carter-Vickers have won titles at Celtic. It says, what do they say about dips and performance? Is it all part of a long run of the season? And he says, yes, of course. He says, that's football. It's no different. When we have a long season, you're going to have ups and downs. At Celtic, you can have a slight dip in form, but the ups and downs that we've had this season, I don't think... And this is why people say get rid of certain Scottish players at the club, and I think when you get rid of Scottish players and you get rid of players that know what it's all about as Celtic, you know what it means to, and the importance to win. It's not like any other club where you can draw a couple of games, you know, you can maybe lose 2 games, 3 games, you'll still win the league. Nah, not in Scotland. You can't do that. And you could maybe do it Brendan's first time round when there wasn't as much as a championship race. But there is a championship race on this year. You cannot afford to drop any points. You cannot afford to not be in top level form. And I think he doesn't understand that. and putting him out to get questioned today, I mean, they're about to know the questions that are going to be asked. Celtic will go through the questions that they're going to get asked. Surely they would put on one of the Scottish players to just back up the mindset of the team, and someone that knows what it means to win on an ongoing basis. Not someone that comes in and it's like, do you know what, it's football, you don't deserve, it's not guaranteed that you're going to win every game. No. And at Celtic, you must win every game. You're expected to win every game. Anyway, let's get back to some of the comments. Benny Hofferboy says, it's more apparent that we need to strengthen in defence with quality, not just numbers. Well, we had as many players in defence. We had about 8 players playing for 2 positions at the beginning of the season. We managed to get rid of Kobayashi. We tried to get rid of Gustav Lagerbielke. I mean, what's happened to him? It's going to be interesting. I want to see Rocky more. Let's jump into back some of the comments. Big Shug says, went that far back, we'll struggle to pull it back. Dreading Sunday. I think Awata can play full back. Says Chilpill. You can't redirect your head after heading it. Tom Max says, Hail, Henke Moravchik. Says, Alistair Johnston will be a big loss. Will be no loss on his performances this season, to be honest. Graham Hardy says, the defence needs dealing with long balls being played over them. Yes, it does that, and it's probably because we're pushing too far forward. Play James McCarthy at right back, says Henke. Always the joker. Anyway, and Stephen says, apart from O'Reilly, nobody has played better this season, which takes us on to the summer. And it's understood that Galatasaray came in the last minute of the transfer window for Alistair Johnston, which was never going to happen. He's never going to go to Galatasaray. Is there a deal? Has there been a gentleman's agreement between Celtic and Atletico Madrid to sell Alistair Johnston to Atletico Madrid in the summer? It's all fine and well saying that we don't have to sell the player at the current moment, but you know the Celtic way. If we let's look at the worst case scenario here. We don't win the league. We then hand a 60 million jackpot to the club across the road, which basically saves them. It saves them from everything. They can then wipe out the majority of their debt and everything, and then they'll invest even more. To strengthen if they were to win the league this season. Celtic would then automatically, as soon as the transfer window opens, they will sell Matt O'Reilly. They will sell Matt O'Reilly for 25 million to the highest bidder. I don't think it's a transfer that'll wait till the dying deaths of the transfer window. That's a transfer that, a bit like the Jota one, it'll happen during the season's break, and he will be sold. It's as simple as that. Which then goes on to say who we're going to bring in that midfield area. Any word on Welsh? Well, there's not been any word on Welsh. He went off with his hamstring. I don't think the man's saying it. Welsh will be out for 46 weeks. Welshy. I'm going to just call him like Welsh butter. Anyway, let's get some more Celtic news. Obviously, Paulo Bernardo was asked quite a lot this afternoon going into St Mirren in the Cup. You went there recently and we got a very good performance. How does the team replicate that day? Paulo Bernardo says yes, but we need to look at this game as a new game. We need to look at it as another game. What we did in the past was good, but we've not been playing that good. He kept on going on about keeping improving and keep going. And that can only come from the manager, which says to me the manager doesn't have 100% confidence in this team. It's just reading between the lines. But as we need Raman Vaga back. Welsh has picked up a few injuries this season. Welsh has picked up injuries most of his career. Stuart says, right, Baz, is it alright to say hello to Lorna? Yes, if Lorna's in the house, you can, Stuart. I've been waiting on that one. It's just your personal SMS. You know, it's the new WhatsApp. Definitely, Shug. Baz, we need Ramon Vago back. Welsh picked up a few injuries this season. It's not just this season. O'Reilly's Heidi has turned with medical. His head has been turned by Atletico Madrid. Do you think so? Do you think that will stop him performing at his highest level just in case he picks up an injury and that pulls the plug on any big transfer this summer? You're maybe right on that, actually. You've seen it happen with players in the past. You know, when they get that little, you know, there's going to be a big move in the summer. I'm not going to play 110%. They won't go into the pitch saying I'm not going to try 110%. But what you'll see is they're not putting in the physicality that they put in at the beginning of the season, and I think that's what you're maybe getting at. Yeah, David says, I don't think the team has 100% confidence in the manager. Interesting. Why wouldn't they have 100% confidence in the manager? And it was an interesting one. I don't know if you've seen the video that was doing rounds on Twitter of when the team went up to the fans at Hibs and they did the and little Kyogo was at the back. And little Kyogo did that for about a second, and then his hands went down, his head went down. What does that say about Kyogo? Is his confidence been absolutely knocked out of him over the past quarter of a season? If Riley doesn't perform to his highest standards, his value will go down. I don't think it will. I think people will know exactly what is going on with that situation, and teams will still come in and pay the 25 million for him. We need to start 2 up front this weekend. Things can only get better, says Docboy67. I think playing 2 up front away to St. Run, I wouldn't play 3 at the back. I wouldn't chance 3 at the back against St. Mirren, to be honest. I would stay more defensive for the 4 at the back, because I think St. Mirren are a fantastic team that will try and hit us on the break. They've shown that they can do that, and I think that I've been all for playing 3-5-2. I would maybe change the shape of the team and go for a 4-4-2. But Brendan Rodgers will stick to what he knows best, as he is the elite manager. And let's just hope that he is the elite manager and gets the win at the weekend and gets us through to the end of the season. I think that Brendan Rodgers, does the players have confidence in the manager? That's an interesting one. Kyogo has lost his dancing spot. Yes, he has lost his dancing spot, and he has to get it back. It's up to Kyogo to get it back. And what would be interesting is if Adam Aida and Kyogo both scored a double on the pitch, and which one would go up? Would they both go up? It'd be like the little and large show. Oh, jeez. Right, let's get back to some of the comments. Robert says, I heard about a Boltwood down the tunnel again after the final whistle. The players doing that is not good for us. Did he? I'm not going to. I've never seen any footage of that happening. So, in fact, I'll text a couple of mates that were at the games. 2 seconds. I'll do it whilst we're live. Whilst I remember. I will ask right now folk that were at the game. I've asked the question. I wish you'd asked me that earlier on in the day. I could have had an answer for this live. But there are a good few guys on that WhatsApp that will get back to me. Right, Docboy67 says 4-4-2 Baz. Drop Bernardo. Drop Paulo Bernardo. Would you drop Paulo? I don't think he's going to get. Mind you, that's a Brendan Rodgers thing to do, isn't it? Is that wheel a player out, get him taking all the stick from the media, and then drop him at the weekend. So you might be onto something there. Wouldn't be the first time that Brendan Rodgers has put someone out to do PR duties for the club, and then he gets dropped at the weekend. Brankford 6788 says the most annoying thing about Lowell snuck in the door when we were flying. Yes. He's been back again. He's stop him leaving back. We're weaker now than before January. Turnbull, etc. leaving. There could be a good shout for saying that we're a little bit weaker. Could be a good shout to say that we are that little bit weaker. Are we though? I'm not too sure. I just noticed the camera not sitting right. There we go. That's that on. Are we weaker even though Turnbull slowed the game down? A lot of people were moaning about Turnbull, but the fact that we're kind of struggling a bit in midfield, it was always good for a goal. Anyway, he's gone. He's sold for $2 million. It was good. It was a good bit of money getting $2 million for him. It was a cracking bit of money getting $2 million for him, considering he only had 6 months left in his contract, and we only paid $3 million for him. So for me, it was his time had come and done. He hadn't managed to do it at a high enough level. Chilbo says Abada didn't celebrate at the end. That's interesting. Obviously, he's not going to. When you think about it, right, the away fans is predominantly made. I mean, there is the Green Brigade, and you've got the boys there. I don't know if they would have had their Palestinian flag. And you know what? Maybe he's another player that's going to be off in the summer. What would we get for Abada in the summer? Because we're going to sell one of them. It's either going to be Matt O'Reilly or Abada. Abada's on a 5-year deal, so is Matt O'Reilly. What is Abada worth? Is Abada worth 15 million? Look, if Abada goes in the summer, now we're on to that conversation. If Abada goes in the summer, good luck to him. Because I don't think he's as good as what he thinks he is as a player. He's got a lot of learning still to do as a player. He doesn't get past players at all well. He's not a Jota that could skip past players. Abada is okay. Abada's okay when he's on the wing and he's got a straight run. But other than that, he really struggles. He is in Israel. Is he in Israel? I have no idea if he's in Israel. Have the players been given time off? Or is he not going to be playing this weekend? Who knows? Anyway, Stephen says, Baz, if Riley keeps on performing, we'll get 25 to 30 million. But any dips in form, we'll get closer to 15 to 20 million. So 10 million, depending on the performance. I read that someone says, one of these crazy bloggers out there wrote on one of their blogs that Matt O'Reilly's current market value is only 13 million. Which is absolutely nonsense. If he's only worth 13 million, why did the Spanish team come in and offer 20, over to take him on loan and pay 20 million? He's going to go for 25 million plus in the summer. Abada, what's he worth? Stephen said Abada's worth 5 million. If we get 5 million, what did we buy him for? We paid good money for Abada, so I don't think Abada's going to be a massive loss, to be honest. He's not been a player. Even under Ange Postecoglou, he wasn't a player. He was an impact player. He was brought in off the bench. If he goes, he goes. Abada's development has stopped, says Michael Ross. I think so as well. He's never stepped up his performance. He's never done what Liam Scales has done. Liam Scales has come in this season and he's put down a marker and said, right, I want this position to be mine. Abada, he's never really done that. Stephen says 352 for Sunday, Rocky, Laggers, Scales, Forrest, O'Reilly, Callum McGregor, Bernardo, and Maidan Kyogo, and Adam Ida. That side should take care of St Mirren. Remember, St Mirren have won their last 2 games, and they beat Hibernian 3-0. They did beat Hibernian 3-0, which is kind of bizarre because we kind of struggled a bit. James says, I think Kyogo has had his day. Ooh, you never say that about a striker. I can remember people saying that about Lee Griffiths. And then the next season, they went on to score something like 40 goals for Celtic. So it is a striker. Strikers all come down to mentality and what's going on up here. And it's the headspace that's wrong with Kyogo just now. He's just lost that little bit of confidence. Graham Hardy says, it doesn't matter how much cash we get for players, money doesn't get reinvested into the team. And the news come out today also that last season Celtic made over 26 million from the Champions League. Or was that? It can't be this season because I looked at it. I need to double check that. But yeah, reckons that Celtic made it. It must have been this season. No, because that wouldn't have come out just yet. Wouldn't have come out. Right, let's see what else Paulo Bernardo was saying. And that was case. How do you deal with the demands of winning every game? Was asked Paulo. Is that something you used to at Benfica? He was never in the first team at Benfica, so how could he been used to it? It's crazy. We're at Celtic. We're a big club, says Paulo Bernardo. He says we have to win all of the games that we participate in. And Benfica, it happened to us too. So I think all of my youth teams in Benfica were also like that. You got to remember, I think he maybe played 20 games for the first team. And then that was it. He was put out on loan, wasn't he? Anyway, that's all from Paulo Bernardo today. The injury news is that Cameron Carter-Vickers is still out. Alistair Johnston, the big one. Alistair Johnston is going to be out for a couple of months, I reckon. I reckon he's going to be out at least for a couple of months. You can't take any... The only plus side is he might be out for 2 or 3 weeks. It all depends what comes back from that scan. I think he'd be 2 or 3 weeks and then he might come back and start light training. Will he be wearing some kind of head protector gear just to protect his head in games? We'll see that. Good afternoon to you, Stephen. And we'll give that a nice little thumbs, a little heart. Get 10 Heroes scarf foot bags. Get the 10 Heroes scarf. Where is it? This actually came from... What club was it? The Roll of Honour. 10. That actually came from one of the supporters clubs in Glasgow. I can't remember what one it was. I can't remember what club it was now. It might have been the Govan. In fact, is that not an old Govan bus? I think it might have been an old Govan bus one. Can't remember. I'm not sure. No, maybe it wasn't. Can't remember. Anyway, what's the news? Liam is late in, says, what's the news? Basically, the news is Alistair Johnston has a head fracture. Had a head fracture. And Robert says, I thought Abada was progressing pretty well under Angel. Things have changed a lot though. None of our wingers can get past players. Yeah, that's true. It is true. Proud of you, Baz says. What's the other one I've got actually? Oh, one of the old. This is probably the oldest one, the oldest scarf that I have. The Boys of the Old Brigade. Boys of the Old Brigade on that side, and then 67 on that one. That's probably the oldest scarf that I've got. That's for years and years and years ago, that one. Years ago. Anyway, put them back up where they belong. Up there. Do you see what happens when you start mucking about with things? Jinxed it this year. One thing after that. The tall cranes in Govan. Yeah, I think it could be the tall cranes in Govan. Alistair Johnston, it's devastating news for him. Let's just try and get some more Celtic headlines. Paulo Bernardo details Celtic and Benfica similarities. He played for the boys, the youth team. And everyone's just talking about the injuries, which we have done. Anyway, what time is it? We have been on now. The live stream, click on there. Right, that's it for the afternoon edition of the Celtic News. It is 5 o'clock. I might pop back on later on. Abada, adada. Shut up, you. I'll just try to get an answer. Anyway, right, that's it for the Celtic News this afternoon. The weather's lovely. Trump's a bats. I've seen that. He'll be away at the end of the season. Yes, everyone's saying that Abada will be away at the end of the season. And that's going for guys that go to the game still. No team fears predictability. We're so predictable. I can't see Brendan getting a tune out of 4-3-3. Will he then change. Will he then change formation? I don't think Brendan Rodgers has got it in him to change formation. He might change some tactics, but you never know. Anyway, on that note, as we've done and dusted for this afternoon, I might pop back later on, I don't know, and have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.